they saw a lot of, if you like, Church of England presence in the Namabo area. Okay. But fast forward, in course of time, Reverend Thomas Thompson thought it was only right and proper to get an indigent, to head the mission in the shores of our country.
In a bit to localize
the evangelism. To indigenize it. So he sent 3 young boys to England to go and train, as priests and come back to support the mission. And one of them survived. The 2 others, they died. They couldn't start the code in Britain. But Filikweku was the one who survived. And then he came and continued the mission of the church. He also had a few challenges because he came with the last words of the seminary in Oxford. And he was not at that time comfortable with the local dialect. So where certain catechists and lay readers, lay helpers were employed, not in the sense of they being paid, but they were selected to assist the mission, And then there was a long period of missionary inactivity because of lack of personnel and funding. And I mean funding from England. And at that time, England was not sending missionaries. They thought that, it was time for the church in the Gold Coast to fend for itself, So the expectation was that, the local people will drive the mission, So there was a long period of missionary inactivity until the seat of government was moved from Cape Coast to Accra, precisely to the Christobel Castle. And that was in the year 1894, So there was then the need for Church of England presence in Accra, And we are told that 30 people from the Methodist Church, they said they wanted to have Church of England, in Accra. So with the help of the Governor Griffith,
Griffith, yeah.
They started the church, which was the Holy Trinity Church, not Cathedral then.
So just Holy Trinity Church, yeah.
And then there was a need for a proper place of permanent place of worship. So again, Governor Griffith, through his help and support, the cathedral was built. And we are told that the architect was one called Sir Webb. It spells WGBB. He was the architect who, designed
the cathedral.
The cathedral was built, and so the cathedral was built, and it wasn't built as the cathedral as the Church of the Holy Trinity.
So the Cathedral Church of the Most Holy Trinity, as at the time and then the reign of Sir Griffith, the governor by then.
Governor.
Like history also tells me that the Queen by then was called Royal Majesty Empress Victoria.
Yeah.
By then. It was built as the Trinity Church.
At the Trinity Church parish. It's a parish.
So that became the very first Anglican church
in Accra. Later, St. Mary's, which was built as one that will serve the needs of Ghana, or I should say Game. So the worship was held in Ghana language.
So if I understand, whilst the Trinity Church was established to see to it that the English folks were attending, or those who could resonate to the English dialect attended, the other parishes started springing up so that the the local dialect people too can also go there. Is that it? So somebody has established
It's established local people, Ghana speaking, and the liturgy, of course, was in Ghana. It is still in Ghana, and it was, interestingly, Thomas Bruce, Reverend Bruce, of the Methodist Church, who translated the Book of Common Prayer into the Ghana language.
I now understand the correlation between Anglican.
Yes, Methodist and Americans, we come from a common stock, So Reverend Bruce was the person who translated the Book of Common Prayer, into the local dialect for the Ghana people for worship. There was not a neat distinction between Anglicans and Methodists at the time. There was that spirit of
blend,
love, and interdependence in the way they did things at that time. Now, coming back to where I left off, where the cathedral was built, when the cathedral was built, it was being served as a parish, of the Diocese of Equatorial Guinea.
Okay.
Yeah. So the diocese was created or carved from the Diocese of Equatorial Guinea. At some point, bishops were sent from Sierra Leone, to do episcopal services and things, So there was a need for the church to grow in terms of leadership, in terms of lay help and everything. So one, Thomas Hamlin, William Temple Hamlin, was then the Archdeacon of Lagos.
Okay.
I was brought to, head the church, the parish of Holy Trinity Cathedral. And after some time was consecrated bishop. So with his consecration as bishop, it was only right and proper that he be selected to head the church as the first diocesan bishop, and that was in 1909.
Okay.
As the first diocesan bishop. Thereafter, other bishops came and everything.
So in the year 1909 is when we can see that the Diocese of Accra was properly established
as a diocese. A diocese with.
Before that, then we were the Diocese of the Equatorial.
It was carved out as part as we now
making it about Tema
from Accra Diocese. So it became a fully fledged diocese with Bishop Temple Hamlin, as the diocesan. Thereafter other bishops came, Bishop O'Rourke, Bishop Daly, and Bishop Aglubi, who worked for so many years. And then I should say again that in course of time, because I'm fast forwarding, and to talk about the time when it was a need to indigenize the leadership of the church. So Bishop Lamel came to be the diocesan bishop, who later became the Archbishop of the province of West Africa. Then after him came Bishop Thompson. Then after Bishop Thompson came Bishop Akrofi, who also became Archbishop of the province of West Africa. And then after Archbishop Akrofi came our dear Bishop Daniel, Mr. Toto, who was consecrated in the year 2012. So he's been in Episcopal leadership for almost 10 years.
Wow. So we'll be celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Diocesan.
Yeah, so we say kudos and congratulations to him and the bishop
is in order
for his leadership.
Having established this, right away from wherever the transitions have been from 1909, what can we say that is a structure of the church now that we have the Anglican Diocese of Accra from where it started from to currently? if a new person should enter the diocese, what is its structures?
Well, it is said that the diocese, every diocese, under the constitution and the polity of Anglicanism, that every diocese is episcopally led and synodically governed. What it means is that there is a synod headed or led by the bishop, and he calls meetings of synod as and when. And so as he leads the church, he doesn't do it, solo. He doesn't go solo, but he engages a team of people, the synod, and the synod comprises representatives of the parishes. Some parishes have 4 or 5, but based on the strength of the parishes. But the long and short of it is that there is a synod, which is a representative body. It's serving the interests of the parishes, and of course, ultimately serving the interests of the diocese as we go to take decisions that will help, drive the vision and mission of the church. And talking about vision and mission of the church, everybody knows that in this diocese we have a brilliant vision and mission in what we call the 5 pillars, which are equipping the clergy and church agents to deliver excellence, also to deepen spirituality, making worship, if you like, the bedrock of our missionary enterprise. Because for Anglicans, worship is our thing. So historians will say that Anglicans do theology, but they ring of bells. And this is a Reformation thing. Because our thing is worship. So to say that we should deepen spirituality, as is offered in the pillars, is a step in the right direction. And then after that, we have the 3rd pillar, which is the growth based on integrity or discipline and integrity, which is one thing that I think, is consistent with Scripture. If you want growth, you need men and women, who are positioned spiritually and morally to carry out the mission. People who can be described as community of character, and that will go a long way to make the mission successful and to bring growth. And then the 4th one is
financial sustainability.
Money is good. Financial sustainability. And I think in the course of this program, it will be explained. And then social impact. So important for us as a church to seek to influence society by the things that we do, to engage society politically, socially, and I would say emotionally. When it comes to, attending to the needs of the sick, the aged, the destitute, the orphans and things, as we engage them, we do so emotionally. And that should be what a church, should do. Because in Romans chapter 12, St. Paul says that we should not conform to the standard of this world, but we should, by the renewal of our minds, we should transform society by the renewal of our minds.
Be ye transformed.
So we are called to inform society and not the other way around. And by informing society, we also engage in political activities, economic activities, and so forth. For example, this green gather thing. The church must be seen to be deeply involved in that, because it is one that will serve humanity. So that is about the pillars.
So these pillars are under a broad statement of vision that if we build, they will come. One want to know, what exactly are you building for people to come?
So we are putting the necessary, first and foremost, the necessary spiritual ingredients that will prepare the mission in terms of training clergy, training the lay people, in terms of establishing policies that will drive the mission, and in terms of building a collegiality, a team, you know, and this is drawn from Nehemiah. Let us rise and build. Nehemiah chapter 2 verse 18. It's a clarion call to mission, to involve the whole people of God in mission. So once we put all these things in place, engaging people in the spirit of neighborliness, in the spirit of interdependence, in the spirit of collegiality, you know, you are not, you know, paving the way, you know, for the mission to thrive, in order to bring other people into the fold of Christ. After all, our mission as a church is to bring men and women to the knowledge of our Lord Jesus Christ.
No, finally, on the history of the church, I would want to know that when we talk about the leadership of the church, and then some will say that when it comes to the executive board of the diocese, we are going to have the archdeacons there. What role are the various archdeacons in a diocese of Accra, for instance?
Well, it is said that the archdeacons are the face of the bishop in the various geographical areas that they work. You know, they are the face of the bishop because they are the ones, if you like, the general managers. There are policies that will emanate from synod, from the diocesan, and they have a duty, avowed duty, to make sure that the vision, the mission of the church, the policies of the church, you know, are carried out effectively on the ground, in the parishes, in the congregation, and everything. Which is why the Constitution provides that the archdeacon supervise. They are administrators and supervisors of the various geographical areas that they oversee. You know, so in short, the archdeacons are the ones who represent the bishop administratively, liturgically, because when it comes to worship, which we Anglicans hold so dear to our hearts, the archdeacon should be there to make sure that the vision of the bishop of the diocesan regarding worship, regarding liturgy, and even everything that the diocese stands for is, you know, superintended by the archdeacon.
That's interesting. Thank you, Venerable Dr. Joseph Lankwe Lamte, for this elucidation on the history of the church and then amplifying what the 5 pillars are about. We'll be going to the second pillar, is deepening spirituality. And what I have here is a vision mission of the diocese. It was introduced in November 2012, and we are in 2022, almost 10 years. I think that the diocesan put this vision in place to help him drive along as he supervises or performs his ecclesiastical functions as a diocesan bishop. And as Venerable Lamte has done well to give us, we have equipping and empowering our church agents, clergy, to deliver excellence. We have deepening spirituality. We have growth based on integrity and discipline. We also have financial sustainability, and the fifth one is social impact. Venerable Telly Nelson will take us through deepening spirituality. When I read through the policy statement, I see that the church has a vision of constructing youth centers as means of deepening the spirituality of children and youth of the church. How far is this vision under this particular pillar?
Thank you very much, and thank you to our viewers, you know, for giving us the personal attention. But before then, can you help me permit me to just add on to the reference to interest? And record shows that in 1949, the then Bishop of Accra, Bishop Arubi, appointed the first provost lane, you know, at the cathedral, and through that that we have the first batch of canons to form the cathedral chapter. Three, Reverend Kofi Parisi Chiama, Reverend Father Aite Kodeba Fiokwabi, and then Reverend Father Labi, the first batch of canons to form the cathedral chapter. And the first chapter clerk was Kofi Parisi Chiama.
Wow.
That's a possible. And we must also know that Bishop Thompson was the first diocesan bishop to be elected by a synod. All the aforementioned bishops, they were appointed, and the major synod endorsed them. It was the type of Bishop Thompson.
That synod elected.
That's it.
Without keeping that, at some point, it became necessary, to elect bishops rather than to appoint them. And this is, enshrined in the constitution of the province of West Africa. But before then, as he rightly said, the bishops were appointed, from England, to put it that way.
I want to ask your minds on something. That when you go to other provinces, we have the House of Bishops who go and elect a bishop on behalf of a diocese. Sometimes the synod will bring up nominations for who to be selected among the House of Bishops. You experiencing the appointments of bishops in the Accra Diocese, and then the new era where we elect our diocesans. What is the distinction between the appointed diocesan and the elected diocesan, and what benefit does it bring to growth of the church?
But that does not affect the status or the work of the diocesan. It's about selecting who you want to lead you, and at the point it was thought right and proper that bishops should not be appointed, because it brought in its wake acrimony, all manner of protestation and things, which people did not show openly do. But then it was advisable at that point that we should do the right and proper thing by electing. And as I said, that practice found its way in the provincial constitution.
Interesting. Venerable Tello, we'll continue from
when we talk of spirituality, before when we talk of spirituality, we have one definition of spirituality. Okay. As a spiritual person, it's someone who thinks about the things of God. Who aspires to think about the things of God. God is not evil. God is not full of hatred. God is not jealous. God does not discriminate. God is good. God is love. God is merciful. God is kind. God is loving. So as one tries to aspire to the things of God, that's how I see spirituality. You are being spiritual. And we need to groom our youth and our children, who are the future leaders of the church. We need to grow them in the faith, to know the things of God. So in the future, when they take over, we shall see a church which is well grounded, well spiritual, and then well fruitful. Yes, we have a center. I know that we have a center at Otinobi, a youth center at Otinobi, which is not functional at the moment. It's not functional at the moment, but very soon it will be functional. And I think it will really help in grooming our youth, enhancing their spirituality, the youth and the children. In the US and in the UK, you have summer camps. So when you have these center functioning, when our children are on recess, on vacation, you can organize a camp meeting for them. And at that camp meeting, you have programs that will really enhance their spirituality. You can invite other youth from other denominations. You can have fun games, interact with them, We have Bible studies, we have quiet time, we have retreat there, and that will groom them in the faith. Currently, whenever you're having camp meeting, children's camp meeting, the parishes are starting with the money that you have to give that for. But if you have this center functioning, it will save us some cost financially. Look at what is going on out there during holidays. The youth going to the beach, they are prone to all sorts of social vices. So if we have this center functioning, it will help protect the youth from these social vices, because these are the future leaders of the church.
Still talking about the future leaders of the church, when we talk about empowering youth and children, what as a church, how do we go by empowering the youth and children who will say that tomorrow they're going to take over the aims of affairs of the church? Because somebody once told me that a church without a youth has no future.
Precisely. Precisely. That's very, very true. We cannot nurture future leaders who will come and instill indiscipline in the church. The problems in the church. They will be distressful. We need to groom future leaders who believes in mutual respect, humility, obedience. And we need to do that right from the word go. We have to catch them young, as we normally say. Catch them young. So we need to have programs that will really broaden their rising. So that when they take over, they will champion the cause of integrity in the church. It's very, very important. We can talk of leaders of today who were well groomed, and they are head in the church. We have some who have already gone before us, like the late Christianity, a lot of them. And currently we have some of our youth like a Cobbler and CC Bruce. These are crooked, and they've not taken over. And I believe they went through the rudiments of the church, with them grooming them in the faith, which is very, very important. And the one thing, rather, that we need, we have a rich tradition, especially when we talk about the mass tradition. But it's as if the youth are not being introduced to it. The mass is scriptural. We pray the mass. The mass, as we see this, we pray the mass. Right from A to Z is backed by scripture. You talk of in the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Matthew 28:19. It is there. Oh, the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, the 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 13. It's there. The Lord be with you and also with you, or with your spirit. Root 2, verse 4. This is all scripture. And then you come to the go forward in peace, love, and serve the Lord. Also scripture. And then thanks be to God. It's also scripture. 2 Corinthians chapter 2, chapter 9, verse 15. So the mass from A to Z is Bible. And if our youth electronic service will be introduced to this, then they know it, they own it. It is really enhance their spirituality. We have what we normally do now is that we have the children's service. We will join the main church right from the processional hymn. We'll go through the first part of the service, and before gospel we invite them, pray with them, and then they go and have their. And I think that should be encouraged, because gradually we are growing them in the faith. So when they migrate, from the children's service, they will not get lost. It is very, very important.
Not to cut you in, I'm grateful that you've been able to appreciate that there is a gap. Now, when it comes to the youth of the church currently, it is difficult for them to appreciate our mode of worship. What are we doing to bridge this gap? Because at the end of the day, these are people that find themselves in senior high schools, tertiary institutions that we have permitted to use radical worship or new way of worship beyond the orthodox way that we've been introduced to as Anglicans. What are we doing to bridge this gap?
Well, I think we are lacking in one thing. You know, we need, once in a while, we need to use our sermons, as teaching sermons, to explain the liturgy. They say they appreciate it, they own it and appreciate it. I'm thinking about this, that we need to introduce what I will call GASU, Greater Accra Anglican Students Union. In Cape Coast, they have CASU, Cape Coast Anglican Students Union. And then you see the seminarians owning it. The seminarians. I have been the CASU president before when I was a seminary at Cape Coast. We can use the Trinity students. We can, the Trinity students, station them in various institutions when they are on their practicals. We also need to have chaplains, to feed our institutions, institutions. Not only that, and then also in the police service, we have some of our youth who are in the police service, customs, and we need to make sure that the Anglican presence is felt in these areas. But every time we don't have chaplains there, we don't have someone grooming them, and we don't have these other churches who are infiltrating all areas of society. But that's why we need people, trained people, to man our educational institutions, to make sure that we organize our Anglicans there. And I believe when that is done effectively, it will attract others. For instance, we have the Students' Union at Kolebu. The Students' Union at Kolebu, which is very, very strong. Especially we have medical students, students studying midwifery, nurses, and all the pharmacists. Anglicans.
I think that we have to give kudos to Reverend Father Chris Ashon on the good work he's doing with NOAS at Legon. And then those who are also looking at the UPSA among other institutions, they're doing a good work.
But if we can have, if out of that we can have gas, as I say, great agriculture.
This is something you have to champion. I think that if it's tailored properly, it will really come to stay and really help. Because one other thing too is that people feel that when they have learnt the new form of worships and they come back to the parishes, they are not being accepted. There's no room for them because they've come with a lot of fire in them, and it seems that our way is not accepting. So rather, they run away to go and find themselves with this. But if they're able to find a blend,
early on, my brother alluded to the fact that the Mass is central to our worship as Anglicans. And this brings to mind the need for us to cherish the Book of Common Prayer.
As one asks, what is the Book of Common Prayer?
The Book of Common Prayer, put together in 1549 by Thomas Cranmer as part of the reforms of the church in the 16th century Christian Reformation. And that was to introduce a lot of Bible stuff in worship. Basically, that was the intention of Thomas Cranmer. And he succeeded in making sure that the Book of Common Prayer as we see today, is all Bible stuff. In terms of the canticles, in terms of the psalms that we sing or read in church, in terms of the liturgy, the communion service itself, everything is Bible stuff, because that was the reason, for the Reformation. It was a clarion call, to make Scripture, play a part in the worship life of the church. So I think that as Anglicans, we should make an conscious effort to introduce the young ones to Book of Common Prayer stuff, because that's where you see all the Bible things there. You know, I said canticles. Canticles like the Jubilate Due, the Psalm 67, you know,
Cantate
Domine, all these things, the Benedictus, and all these things are there. And one must not lose sight of the fact that this is Bible presented in worship. You know, so people say that Anglicans, when they go to worship, they sing the Bible. And by singing the canticles, you sing the Bible. You know, and to make everybody fully fledged Anglicans, there's a need for us to inculcate in our youth, you know, the love, you know, of Book of Common Prayer worship. Even now, other churches are copying from us. I remember going to a wedding some time ago. I won't mention the church. A certain Christian church. They were using the Book of Common Prayer section on marriage. And they used it from start to finish. Everything that was done was the liturgy of the Anglican Church in marriage. You know, so we should cherish what we have. It is a great heritage that we must cherish. And I thank God for the Diocesan Ministerial Training School. And whenever you mention Diocesan Ministerial Training School, you should say a prayer, you know, for the peaceful repose of the soul of the late Canon Harry Olan Mensah, you know, who brought this vision about. Okay, that's where today we are training lay pastors, we are training Sunday school teachers, we are training all manner of lay helpers, you know, to help the missionary cause. And in the training, we do have a section on the Book of Common Prayer, which we teach, you know, and we're hoping that as we teach the lay helpers, the lay pastors and others, as we teach them, they will also impart that knowledge, you know, to the church, especially to children and the youth.
I'll come to you on the third pillar, good based on integrity and discipline. You tell us what yardstick the church is using to measure integrity. I'll come back to you. One thing recently, we are still in the woods of COVID-19. We are not away from it. And talking about the future of the church, they always talk about making our worship exciting. And when I read through the policy vision of the Diocesan, it says that under the Deputy there's a need to make our worship exciting. Did COVID-19 affect the spirituality of the church in any way? That is one. The other breadth is that have we been able to expose to any new ideas as a result of the pandemic to aid our spiritual growth as a church?
Yes or no? Yes and no, because yes and no. COVID, during COVID, we realized that we have to be time conscious in the first place. So we have to redesign the liturgy to fit into 1 hour worship. So some of the things that the youth really cherished, they really used to it. We have to take those things off or minimize it. For instance, having the praises and then having the choruses for the offering. We have to take that aside, and that was a little bit difficult for the youth. And also the Bible study. The youth, when they embrace the Bible study in such a way that we need to encourage them. But of late, during COVID, we have to do away with the Bible studies again because of time, and that also affected me somehow. And I can say that COVID has somehow assisted the church or assisted our worship, helped us in some way, because we're having about 3 hour service, but after COVID or since COVID has subsided, we at least 2 hours, which a lot of people are comfortable with. We have older people who normally they cannot sit for long, and they are willing to come to church, and when the service drags on, it creates a whole lot of problem. But one thing that our place, for instance, or in our archdeaconry, COVID has really helped tremendously in the Bible study. Because that we had about 30 minutes Bible studies. We fitted the Bible studies in, and then before gospel, we ring the bell, and they come and join us. That takes about 30 minutes, 25 minutes. But now, in my archdeaconry, especially in Goligono, you have almost about 1 hour Bible studies before the second service commences. We have the first service 6:30. By 8:15, you are done with the first service. And we have people who wait for the Bible studies, which takes off from 8:30 to 9:20. And the second service starts at 9:30.
So it's a blend for both first service and second service.
Yeah. Okay. So the first service, they're willing to wait because they love it. And we have most of the youth. Those from Kolebu, the students from Kolebu, they normally attend the first service. And they wait for the Bible studies. And they have about 40-50 minutes studying Bible. So coffee has really benefited the Bible studies for forever.
I'm grateful you brought the Bible studies thing up, because it's something I wanted to ask. There's a notion now that the Bible studies groups that were established with the aim of projecting or making people study Bible now are turning into an avenue where harvest monies are being taken. You go there, 5 CD, 2 CD. You can't respond to that in the next day. So think about the response for it, because it seems that it is now deterring people from attending Bible studies, because instead of going there to be refreshed on the Word of God, we are going there to buy 5 CD already on harvest among other things. So we'll come back on it. Talking about growth based on integrity and discipline, how as a church, how do we measure integrity?
First and foremost, let me address the issue about our response as a church to the Great Commission. And to say that our obedience to the Great Commission, plays a role, a very significant role in determining the way we are going. Because after all, the church exists for mission. Mission, as one theologian, and I'll mention his name, John Makwa, in his book, his priceless book, Principles of Christian Theology. He says that mission is inherent in the very notion of the church. So what it means is that talk about the church, and what comes to mind is mission, spreading the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ, so as to bring men and women to the saving knowledge of Christ. That is the reason why the church is existing. So our obedience to that, to the Great Commission, Jesus says, you go make disciples of all nations. Matthew 28 verse 19. Our response to that.
That was my confirmation test.
Yes. Wonderful. Go make disciples of all nations. Because as one missionary would say, the first duty of a Christian is to make another Christian. And the first duty of a Christian church is to make other Christian churches to the whole world is filled with Christians. And this is a reflection on the Great Commission, that we should go and teach all nations, baptize them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Go make disciples. So our obedience to it, for me, is a yardstick that will measure growth as a diocese, as a church, But having said that, talking about integrity also calls to mind the if you like, the moral the character of the people sent out to go and do mission. And I'm talking about the clergy, talking about the laity. Because you cannot give what you don't have. And I think it was St. Francis of Assisi who said that preach the gospel at all times. When necessary, use words. What that means is that our character, should present to people the message of the gospel. Our character, the way we choose to live by, it plays a significant role in the missionary enterprise. So we need men and women, both clergy and laity, men and women of integrity. After all, this word discipline we are talking about is a biblical idea. It comes from the word discipleship, which is rendered in the Greek matete, which is learning from a master. So all Christians, must learn from the master Jesus Christ, and to strive or to seek to be like Jesus. So as we spread the gospel, as we preach the gospel, as we teach the gospel, we must also ask ourselves, what kinds of people are we called to be? Indeed, we are called to be a community of character. Which is why I think that this pillar, growth based on discipline and integrity, is a brilliant idea. Because it makes you, as a Christian, as a preacher, as a pastor of the church, as a priest of the church, know that you're not just going to say, do what I say, and live you yourself, because you as a person must be a sermon to others. And coming back to what St. Francis said, you preach the gospel at all times. If necessary, use words. So what it means that you use yourself, your character, And this reminds me of St. Francis of Assisi's a story about him, a head of the monastery. And he sent, not that he sent that, but he and his colleagues, monks, young, monks, they went to a certain village to go and preach. Because then Francis had told them that we are going to this village to go and preach. So they went to the village. When we got to the place, they were being kind to people, talking kindly to people. There were children there. They were encouraging them, sharing their bread with people. And those in distress or in any kind of trouble or calamity, they were being, encouraged emotionally and all that. Then when they had finished with all that, Francis said, let's go back to the monastery. The one young monk said, but you asked us to come and preach. When are we preaching? Then Francis said, whatever we said here, and whatever we did here, whatever action we did here,
the sermon
has been a sermon to the people. And this goes to, strengthening what I said earlier on about using few words, but making your character, projecting your character to people.
I'm grateful you've hammered on the word character. That as agents of the church are concerned, clergy and lay agent, there's a need to put in some high level of moral and then character into it. My very next question to you before we go on a quick break is, how as media, both traditional and then new, influence our worship in a way of growth being concerned under this pillar?
Wonderful. Thank you for the question. And I would say, without missing words, that Adra TV has come to us.
You make me smile too much.
As a blessing. Because otherwise, during COVID-19 days, what would we have done as a church? During the lockdown, Adra TV was on hand to air the services of the church to the faithful, so that people can connect to the things of God, can connect to spirituality, So Adra TV we need to pat you on the shoulder for the role that you are playing as a tool for evangelism. So, to answer your question, in few words, we thank God for what Adwa TV is doing.
We bless God.
Even as we sit here, we are evangelizing. It's all part of the evangelistic mission of the church. And I think this is a step in the right direction, because you see, churches that have grown by leaps and bounds, have always used the media, media, large communication things to grow their churches. You can talk about Oral Roberts, for instance. You can talk about Billy Graham.
Yeah.
Once they preach the gospel through the media, they reach a lot of people around the world. So I would want to use this opportunity to appeal to the churches to support Adwa TV. We've been asked to make regular remittances to Adwa TV. Parishes should do it. They should take ownership of Adwa TV and make sure that, this vision, of establishing a TV station, works very well to the glory of God.
Amen. You hinted on the Great Commission earlier.
Yes.
When I look through the vision under this particular pillar of growth, it talks about community-based evangelism. Community-based evangelism. I am yet to see the activeness of that particular movement, of where parishes or maybe archdeaconries will hit up the streets on community-based evangelism. But I'm going to go on a quick break. So when you come back, you are going to respond to that. Okay. That's Venerable Tele to give me the response on the Bible studies group and then the money too. You're still watching AM Ghana here, and this is day 2 of the Diocesan Week Celebration 2022, and we are having Get to Know Your Diocese discussion. We've spoken about the history of the diocese and are looking at the diocesan's vision. That is, if we build, they will come. That is underpinned with 5 pillars. We have been discussing deeply spirituality and growth based on integrity and discipline so far. We're going to go a quick time. When we come back, we have more for you here on the show. Do stay tuned.
Announcements on Adwa TV. Contact Adwa TV for your general announcements, proclamations and publications, job vacancies, etc. at a very affordable rate. Call 050-92-57754, 020-9494-258, or visit our marketing desk at Stepwork Premises. Adwa TV, bringing good things to life.
From the break, you're still watching AM Ghana here on Adwa TV. The name is Percival, and I've been in studios with the Venerable Dr. Joseph Lankwe Lamte, who is the Archdeacon of Accra East, and also with Venerable John Antonio Telu Nelson, Archdeacon of Accra West. we are having discussions on the 5 pillars, and we started with deepening spirituality as well as growth on integrity, and we intertwined it too with that of the agents, building and equipping and empowering church agents, as clergy, among other things. Venerable Antonio, Bible studies. I made the notion that is in the minds of a lot of people now concerning the Bible studies group now turning into an avenue of collecting money instead of propagating gospel assurance. What do you have to say to this?
Actually, we need to have a distinction, between Bible study groups and then day-born groups.
Okay.
I know some of the parishes use the day-born groups, or after the Bible study, they use the day-born groups to collect levies, harvest levies. So that is different. But I don't think that they use the Bible study groups, like the girl speaking group, English streams to collect money. But what is the day-borns? They have day-borns. So after the Bible study,
some of the parishes have their Bible study groups are their day-born groups. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are the groups that has been created for the Bible studies to go on. It's become often than many that sometimes we don't need to discuss Bible, but when we are getting towards harvest, then we have to now quickly start doing Bible studies groups breakdown, and then go and begin to tell them the targets they have to bring as a day born towards the harvest, among other things. So we rather find time for them to explain to them why we have to meet up the target rather than going to share the word. This is something I've experienced about 2 or 3 parishes across the diocese.
I think let me come in. I think I should say, whilst I concede that people use Bible study, to collect harvest monies, I would also submit that they do this thing at the blind side of the leadership of the church. They find that time convenient, but it's not an established norm that money should be collected while Bible studies are going on. Exactly, yes. So I think that we should educate our members that if it's a Bible study, we should concentrate on the Bible study and stop collecting.
I think that would be very fine to do.
So I think what we are discussing now is very, very appropriate. Let's use this medium to advise those who are doing it to put a stop to it, because it's not biblical. No, it is not biblical. It dampens our spirituality. Exactly speaking, it doesn't enhance our spirituality, and we need to use this platform to educate those who are doing it. Especially at the branch side of the parish meet.
We only find the times convenient for them to do it, because that's where you have everybody present, so that they can collect monies from them.
Okay.
They can devise other means of collecting money rather than to do it while Bible study is going on.
Okay, so our leaders out there who are doing this, please find ways and means to stop it.
I want to give you something. Venerable commended the Adwa, what they are doing, wonderful. I also want to commend our Lord Bishop. We said the church is supposed to be a beacon of hope to the hopeless world, and we need to be walking sermons. When he took over, he really streamlined the way we fellowship together in church, socializing. Drinking openly, alcohol openly, you try as much as possible. So because we are supposed to be a beacon of hope. Yeah. And we're talking of discipline and integrity. We need to really be disciplined when it comes to fellowshipping, when it comes to socializing. And I think with that, he did very, very well. And that has really helped somehow. One thing that I will suggest, that all the Antichrists, though we started doing it, is the trauma healing ministry. Trauma healing ministry.
But the Bible Society has been championing.
People are hurting, and people are dying slowly in the church. They are in the church, and they are dying slowly, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. They are dying. Because they cannot come out boldly to share their problems with people. And this is one ministry that the church has forgotten. No, I was trained as an industrial chaplain, and I specialize in seafarers ministry, seamen. Another area the church has forgotten. But seamen are people who we should really, try to help them, to lead, a moral life, morally stable life. Because they are prone to so many things.
A lot.
So I was going on the board of ship, having discussions with them, listening to their problems, what have you. But trauma healing ministry, with the Bible Society, through this work of the Lord Bishop, as we introduced, it's a wonderful ministry. And I want to advise and encourage the other archdeaconries, the two of us who have gone through the program, advanced program, and I've started it in my archdeaconry. Once every Wednesday, there's just one the week, when the 10 to 12. And my brother, you should come in and experience it.
Yes, and Brother Tello, I think that we should use this platform to encourage the clergy who attended the course with us, to establish this trauma healing ministry things in their parishes. I mean, we had so many materials given and everything. We shouldn't just put them down to gather dust. Because the essence of that course, was to send us out to also go to be like trainers of trainees, and that should not be lost on us as a church. Otherwise, all the time that we spend, doing this course will be in vain. So thank you, Adrian, for.
If Adwa, just wonder if Adwa can just come in one Wednesday, 10 to 12, and come and see the discussion. We have the groupings, and we have trained clergymen who handle the facilitators, and you listen to the testimony. You listen to how people pour out their hearts, how people are healed through the word of God, through counseling. My mother, you will have it. And this is one ministry that we need to use to enhance the spirituality of people, because people are dying slowly. And I think again I have to commend the Lord Bishop.
Yes, I think we commended the Lord Bishop on this thing. We should kindly, or humbly ask the Lord Bishop to let this idea feature in the next synod. I mean, we must come out with a paper, with something, act out, or a firm decision of synod on trauma healing. Because as you actually pointed out, it is one ministry that we should embrace.
I think it's not perfect. Now that he's charged to the Bible Society, we can get all the materials and the facilitators as well to come and help with the training among others.
There has to be an actor of synod.
The Lord Bishop is watching, so my Lord Bishop, we are pleading on you to add it to your next chapter.
So next synod.
Next synod. Let me quickly wrap up on this so that we can make room for the social impact and financial discussion. The community-based evangelism. Where are we? Are we on course?
Yes, I understand community-based evangelism to be, helping the people themselves, the people in those communities themselves, to champion the cause of the mission of evangelism. The people themselves, community-based. That's the idea. And also to submit to you that we can take pride in the fact that the clergy are trained and sent to these rural communities. Hitherto we're making do with lay helpers, lay pastors, and all that. But in recent times, during the episcopate of Bishop Daniel, priests are sent to those places, the communities, trained priests, fully fledged priests, sent to the communities, so as to empower the people themselves to do mission. So you can talk of many rural communities where we have priests stationed. Can talk about my holy village, Kwabiano, where there's a priest.
Okay.
Father Banafo is a priest there. And talking about Kwabiano, I'd like to say that the church is no longer Ashalajao. It is in Kwamianu town. In Kwamianu town, yes. Because my uncle gave the land on which the church is sited. It is not in Ashalaja. It started from Ashalaja. But then they said we shouldn't worship in school buildings and all that. So we moved out of the school building, and now we have a place, a temporary place of worship. But that is sited on our land in Kwamianu. So community-based units, we are making a headway in terms of the training and the posting of the clergy to the rural communities. And I think for this, we need to commend our Lord Bishop for that. This is proper evangelism, because those areas are the areas of mission. That's where the action is. And if you put priests there, train priests there, you will do wonders. As we are doing in areas like Chadu, for instance. We are doing in areas like Obeye, Otinibi, and Mahia, and the rest of them.
And the likes of Katapo.
Katapo, yeah.
Yes.
So I was
so recently.
There's more to do.
And I saw that our vicarage is being secured. Now, thank you for that.
I think we are doing well. There's more to do though, but we are doing well. We've actually prepared the grounds for it, so to speak. And there's a lot to do, but we have done what we have to do as a church.
My last two for you is regular Sundays now. Our membership drive. It looks as if the church membership is falling when you go to church on a regular Sunday, not on feast days. Has it come to your attention? It seems that it's even affecting attendance of meetings. You go to guest and association meetings on days, and then the people are not really coming, among other things. Is there any plan to strengthen our numbers? Because I believe that we've built enough that the people have to stay.
Yes. I would concede that there is dwindling membership in our services on Sundays, and it is regrettable. But you see, at a recent forum, I think I said that there is a perception. We should hold this to be a perception at this point, that the members are drifting away and they are not in the Anglican Church. They might be in the Anglican Church. They might be in these new churches that we have created all
because of distance.
Yes, and there's a need to do a scientific study, of this to actually establish whether in fact and indeed our members are driven out of the Anglican Church. But having said that, by and large, we see a decline in membership. I think that what we should do as a church is to strengthen the guilds and organizations, because that's where you find people attending the guilds. They go to guild meetings, all right, but they don't go to services of the church. If we engage the leaders of these guilds, on diocesan level, archdeacon level, and parish level, would they know the root cause of this problem? Because as I said, people go to their meetings, all right, but when it comes to church services, they are found wanting, and we need to address this thing holistically. I think that Synod should have a look at this problem, but we need to give a report, of this from our various parishes to Synod. And as I said, there has to be a scientific study on this issue. Perhaps the members are not going out completely from the church. They are still within our ranks. They are still within our...
So until we do that research, then we can know as to whether they are drifting from the church completely or they are stationed at other Anglican churches. Finally, on for you, is the creation of the Tema Diocese amplifying this particular pillar? And how is it amplifying?
It does. It does so significantly because it is a mark of growth. Early on in this program, I have articulated the view that it was right and proper for Accra to be carved out of Equatorial Guinea. You know, if that had not been done,
We are not here.
we would not be here as a diocese. So the creation of the Tema Diocese is on course. We're having a meeting. I happen to be a member of that committee that has been tasked to see to the creation of Tema Diocese, to make sure that this becomes a reality rather than to be on the drawing board all the time. So it is a mark of growth, and it is going to strengthen the mission of the church in these new areas like Adan, like Bueko, like Pram, yes, you know, and then going to the other areas. It will strengthen the mission in Santo area, you know. So yes, I would say yes, and kudos, you know, to the leadership of the church. By that I mean the bishop, Bishop Diocesan, and that he is the one person who will make sure that the creation of the diocese comes into being.
I don't know, with the community-based evangelism. Maybe from the St. Jeremy, who they bought a bus for evangelism.
Yes.
No, and if you move around, our communities, they are doing well. In Sakina, in Lansana,
Adema.
Honestly, they are all on the market.
I have to commend your priest assistant too. I think that I saw him somewhere in Collegono doing the Lenten prayer, doing
and I think with this vehicle, what we should do is to embark on team ministry, because then we can move from one place to the other. You know, because I know that the church in Kwamianu, my holy village, you know, is served by Father Banafo, who is also serving in Sakina.
Okay.
You know, if you had a vehicle, you know, you could just move from one
easier.
Yeah. So I think what they should do with the acquisition of this team vehicle will be to embark on a team ministry, you know, so as to improve the work in that part of the diocese.
Kudos to all our priests who are in, let me call them hinterlands, that are doing a good job there. I've been to Katapo, I've been to Father Kuni Bruce's church, I've been to a lot of places, and the Reverend Declator has been on a tour of some of these small churches to see how the growth is going on there. And kudos to our lay pastors too, who are also doing a human's job by supporting our priests at these places too. And kudos to the Guild of the Servants of the Sanctuary, who have also been supporting our priests at every places to anytime they are going for our station, among other things. Kudos to all of you. So far as they are looking to it, that the Great Commission is being established, and then we go there to have this community-based evangelism among
others. So that we let you advise your people, the mass service. The Tuesday, the Bible study. It used to
be so that Tuesday was biblical and theory based. The way we learn, or the Thursdays are for practicals. But because of the numbers about Bible, we look thanks for coming. You have to make room for Venerable Asiadi and then Venerable Major Lai. So thank you, Venerable Dr.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, there are some questions coming up on social media, but probably later we'll have answers for them too. Thank you, and my good regards to the people of Wonderful. Venerable,
you know that we still we are in the castle.
We are in the castle.
Yeah, we used to be near the castle, but now we are in the castle.
We're close to the fire that is in the castle. I'm sure that one of our in our syndical sector will be making a stop one of these days at your place.
Yes.
Thank you, Venerable John Antonio Nelson, Archdeacon of Accra West, for your time this morning, and I'm most grateful to you. And then my regards to my good friends in Collegono, and condolences to you, Archdeacon, over the demise of
Joseph Loss.
Yes, Joseph Loss Quay, a very sad one there, and condolences to the Quay family too, as well, and to all the EYP people too at your end. For me, I'm pure Accra West, pardon my biasness. Anyway, so
pure Accra West and
pardon my biasness. All right, so I'll see you Venerable later. Thank you too. I'm going to go on a quick turn. When we come back, we're going to talk about finance, money. This is where I really like a lot, because we want to ascertain where we are currently so far as the financial sustainability agenda of the diocese is concerned. And then the social impact. What are we doing? Talk about social impact. Is the entertainment and lifestyle inculcated in the doctrine of the liturgy, or what might be the case? Do stay tuned with the Venerable Samuel Lantinga as well as the Venerable Major Retired. If it is a lie. Right. We'll be right back. Right.
Thank you.
Greetings to everyone. Welcome to Sonotech Medical and Diagnostic Center. My name is Akosia Afifa Abalo, a registered pharmacist in Ghana. Hypertension, also known as high blood pressure, is one of the medical conditions that is common in our society. Hypertension is both preventable and manageable. If you have been diagnosed with hypertension, medications may be needed to control it. My advice to you as a pharmacist is speak to your doctor, follow your treatment regimen, and do not self-medicate. Do not take any medication that hasn't been prescribed by your doctor, especially drugs from family and friends who present with similar symptoms. And note, do not mix your medications with herbal preparations. To help with taking your drugs, you can use a pill box, set an alarm on your phone, or get an accountability partner. The most important message I have for you is know your numbers, get your blood pressure checked, and go for regular checkups. We are here for you any day, anytime, as we offer 24-hour services. Send in your prescription to any of our 3 branches with delivery services available. Contact us on 024 24 394 67. Measure your blood pressure accurately, control it, live long. Thank you.
Announcements on Adwa TV. Contact Adwa TV for your general announcements, proclamations and publications, job vacancies, etc. at a very affordable rate. Call 05092 57754, 020 9494 258, or visit our marketing desk at Stepwork premises. Adwa TV, bringing good things to life.
From the quick time, they are still watching AM Ghana Breakfast Show on Adwa Television, like I hinted earlier. We're having the Diocesan Week celebration for the Anglican Diocese of Accra, and as part of the celebration for this year 2022, the programs department headed by Reverend Ekefre Botinas with a team said that we get to know the diocese proper, and also since it's 10 years now that the catchphrase or the vision, if we build, to come, is in place, the pillars that underpin this vision, we need to explain them and see how far we've come so far as these pillars are concerned. So we've exhausted 3 of them with Venerable Dr. Joseph Lamte and then Venerable John Antonio Nelson. We are moving to the other 2, that is financial sustainability and then social impact. I have with me the Venerable Samuel Lantin Ade. He is the Archdeacon of Tema. How are the good people of Tema United Albans doing?
They're doing great by the grace of God.
Yes, I think that we should be expecting the Venerable coming Saturday too, as he's going to give us the solemn event song and exposition on the theme for this week, that is financial sustainability. He's a man of finance. He's been on the finance board for almost about 25 years.
Well,
I mean,
no.
But it's less than 25 years.
Less than 25.
Less than 25.
Yeah.
But he's a man of finance. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing good. I must say that I'm not a man of finance.
You are not a man of finance.
But a man who is interested
In finance.
in finance.
Oh, okay. But you are not a man of finance.
I'm not a man of finance.
But you are interested
in finance.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Let me move to my other nice friend that we've been fighting a lot. I hope I don't get the name wrong. He is Venerable Major Ebenezer Ni Adelai, retired, the Archdeacon of the youngest Archdeacon, Lewe, Accra Northeast. Venerable, how are you doing?
I'm good.
He's a military man. He's my senior in journalism and media. In fact, he's a production man to us. So anytime I have a production with him, we've been fighting a lot. What are the people of Northeast doing?
These are doing well.
I think the last time we met at Medina.
Yes.
Yes.
For the evening song.
For the Holy Week service.
Holy Week service. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
For the Holy Wednesday
Right.
service. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Venerable Anziane, let me start with you. When we talk about financial sustainability being the 4th pillar of these 5 pillars, in a nutshell or in broader sense, or if you have to summarize it, what are we seeking to achieve with financial sustainability?
Well, I must say financial sustainability or stability is when a business or an institution or an entity tries to work in a way that they sell products or services at a price where they do not only spend on the things they do, but they ensure that they rake in some profit. That all the monies that come in do not go into the expenditure, but they are able to rake in some profit. That makes the institution or establishment financially stable.
Okay.
And you can do this. An entity is able to do this when you are able to draw up a program looking at your long-term goals, and then you are able also to harness the resources that you'll be able to use to achieve these goals. Meanwhile, you must also have your eyes on your cash. You must have your eyes on your cash and ensure that whatever you do, you are able to conclude, or you are able to do it in able to bring more resources to the establishment upon which you will be able to grow that entity. If you ask me, this is briefly what I may have to say
about financial sustainability. In other sense, can we say that you are focusing on getting other ventures or other means of cash inflows beyond the regular offerings and tithes?
Sure, that is why you want to ensure that you look at the goals of the entity, what you stand to achieve, where you want the entity to be in a certain number of years, And therefore, you want to look at the ventures that you want to bring in. And you must also identify the human resources and other resources that you need to ensure that these things come to bear. You know, for instance, like a church, if our goal is to ensure that the churches are financially sound, we need to look at our human resource. We need to look at the way we bring in funds. We need to look at the things we do as a church, so that, you know, our income is such that we are able to use it to do all these things. Meanwhile, we know that we will be stable because we will not be overspending. In other words, we must make sure that funds that come into the system are not misapplied.
Okay, in the course of the conversation, you look at what misapplication and misappropriations do as being like, as far as financial sustainability is concerned. But I know you to be a teacher. When I look at the guide under financial sustainability, it says that we need to improve our financial security through a structured approach to the teaching on giving and the inherent blessing thereof, while religiously holding ourselves accountable to the approval financial regulations of the diocese. Since the inception of this particular pillar from 2012 till date, where are we as a church on the teachings of giving?
Well, I can also say that Synod over the years had come out with decisions and laws that ensure that parishes would intensify their teaching on giving. You know, parishioners should know why they must give, and when they know why they must give, they must also be told what their givings are meant to be used for. You know, people give more when they are assured that their funds are going into, you know, the right programs. And I believe that over the years, in almost all the churches that I have served, teaching on giving has been intensified. And sometimes I ask why our members do not live according to the teachings they have received. Because I believe that the church has done or has even overtaught the issue of giving.
You don't expect me to be given if I'm not too much fulfilled and not enriched with the word of God, or I've not been moved by the teachings on giving.
Well, that is true. That is true. But I also believe that we all know that whatever we receive or whatever we want is always given by God. And I believe that for us to be fulfilled through the word of God, we also need to be supportive of the agents that bring us the word of God. I mean, when you have the right frame of mind, there isn't anything that you cannot do.
Exactly.
But sometimes people go to parishes, and before they reach there, news had gone round that or this or that, and therefore, even before work starts, there is war. And so some of our colleagues, or some of the priests, don't even have the presence of mind, the peace of mind to concentrate on their core business. I believe that if our parishioners will, you know, work hand in hand with us, if they will welcome us as brothers and sisters for that matter, and see that attaining or achieving these purposes is not a one person's job, but it's something that will have to be achieved holistically, and therefore all of us working together, I'm convinced that we will get somewhere.
Okay, in getting somewhere, anytime we come to finances, as the diocese, we have been guided by two working documents and other decisions of Synod. That's the Constitution, the financial regulations, and then what Synod will pass as an acta. How do we adhere to the strict, or how do we ensure that there's strict adherence to the financial regulations, one? And in a case of where people, that is agents of the church, be it wardens or priests, go in contrary to the financial regulations, how do we go by this, and how do we handle it? As we prepare for this particular answer, let's go on a quick 10. When we come back, then you fire me on this particular one. I like the way you're smiling. I like finances. I like money. We're going to do the quick 10, and then kudos to my folks that are watching on Facebook. We'll be right back. From the quick 10 there, I understand a lot of people are watching on Facebook and then on YouTube too as well. Keep sending in your questions if you have any for our venerables, and then we'll quickly read them for you and then ask them to in studio whilst the program is ongoing. We are discussing getting to know your diocese. You have to know about the 5 pillars of the diocesan, and also how or where we've gotten to so far as the 5 pillars is concerned. We are discussing financial sustainability and then social impact, and on the finances, Venerable Samalansiade is taking us through it. And the question is, how do we ensure strict adherence to financial regulations? And then in the course of individuals, church agents who act in contrary to the provisions of the financial regulations and then the constitution, what do we do in those instances?
Thank you. In answering this question, I just want to show on screen this book, which is the Financial Regulations of the American Diocese of Accra, or Anglican Diocese of Accra, and to let us know that every rule or regulation about finance in this diocese is stated in this book. And so our finances are not supposed to be run ordinarily, because we have laws guiding our finances.
Okay.
From collection, payments, to investment, and whatever you think. We have rules governing them. And as far as I know, past and present bishops are always insistent that church wardens and PCCs and priests must always adhere to these regulations. But like you are saying, certain times there are some of us, agents of the church, who close our eyes to the rules. And if you ask me personally, anybody who knows me on board of finance will tell you that I always insisted on sanctions. Because I believe that when there are sanctions, it will deter people from doing things that go against the rules. And so I also believe that in all of our parishes, all church wardens and all priests are very much aware of these regulations. And so there must not be any reason why any of us will close our eyes to this rule and therefore do something that contravenes this law, or that goes contrary to the law.
I'll come back to you once you give me or you ponder what some of the sanctions you think should be in place, because if we've had instances over a period that we want to sustain ourselves financially, and then we also have a financial regulation too that is also guiding us on our collections, payments and investments, and people are not being adherent to it, what sanctions can we meter out so that, like I think, it will serve as deterrent for maybe I want to become a priest tomorrow, I want to become a warden tomorrow, so I to deter me from not going in accordance to what the regulations are saying. I'll come back to you on this. Let me move to Venerable Major Lai, retired. Venerable, when I go through the guide for the visions and mission for the 5 pillars, and I read through the social impact, I get the understanding that we need to put in much more energy when it comes to green environment. And then the diocese is doing some, but what I want to know is that what have we done so far from November 2012 to date so far as green environment is concerned? And the current government too has the Green Ghana agenda. What as a diocese have we done last year, and what are we planning to do to so far as 2022 is concerned?
Well, thank you very much. I would want to go back a little and maybe read the first paragraph of the If You Build, They'll Come vision. And it goes like this: for us to achieve our goal and objective in this dear diocese of ours, we need to bring everybody on board the ministry of all believers. This means that every clergy and lay takes responsibility to contribute in an effective way to the life of the church and to be an effective Christian presence and witness in the broader and wider community. And it goes in to use the Hema experience, where he called for coming to let us build
the walls of Jericho,
the walls of Jerusalem.
Sorry.
Yeah, and our Lord Bishop offered this at his enthronement. Before that, he had assembled a few parishioners and clergy, and this clergy and this group sat down to do some critical analysis of the performance of the church, and they came out with this 5 pillars. Yes. So in pursuing the objectives of these pillars, I read this paragraph to remind us of the fact that it's not just about a clergy thing. It has to do with both clergy and lay. So when we're talking about social impact, it's about the church, and the church is clergy and lay. Green environment. We all know that when the last tree dies,
The last man dies.
the last man dies. And it has been our effort. Every human being, every Anglican must ensure that life continues. That is why we go about evangelizing, winning souls for Christ. And we can't do that without ensuring that what will sustain us is left not attended to. It's very important. I know the Archdeacon of Tema has plans of doing some tree planting at Bueku. You know, they have a vast land, and the finances are not there to put some maybe wall the area, and the idea is to get some tree planted. Anglicans as we are, we will need palm fronts at least once a year. So these up and coming churches, they've all been encouraged to plant trees. You were at Katapo with me, and you saw what is going on over there. And OTB also is doing something similar. OEB is doing something similar. So the church consciously is not failing in this endeavor. And we are part of the government's effort in the planting of trees.
Yes, the Green Ghana agenda.
The Green Ghana agenda. And those who are forgotten, when they refer to our 2022 calendar, the January-February fly has to do with our efforts in ensuring that all the churches came for the seedlings which were formally received, and they planted them. You know, so the church has not been aloof in this endeavor. We are doing our part.
But to add up, I think that the Ministry of Lands, Natural Resources was really amazed at the effort of the church. So this year they are thinking that we would go a step further, which I believe that in an appropriate time the briefings will be done to your desks for the social impact to see how bigger the greening environment that falls under this pillar is going to be. I'll come back to you on credit unions, but it's more of finance. So let me come back with the finance, and then we'll come back on the credit unions and how it's faring in our parishes, because it's not in every parish, but the ones that are there, how are they faring? How are parishioners benefiting from these credit unions that have been established? Because it's directly under the pillar. I'm wondering why it is there. It's not under the finance and it's under social impact. So you tell me about it. We're talking about sanctions in the course of where people have failed or they become defiant to the financial regulations. What possible sanctions can you recommend?
Well, thank you. I know for a fact that certain parishes have been made some time past to refund money that were thought to have been put into different accounts apart from the regular accounts that they need. I am aware of one or two wardens in some of our smaller parishes who have been set aside for similar reasons. I have heard over and over again from members, lay members of the church, that when this happens, the priest must be sanctioned on that. But the finances of the church are basically run by wardens and treasurers. The priest being those in charge of the parishes or congregations, and therefore being the first signatories, major signatories, do not so much go into the nitty-gritty of financing. Theirs is just to look at documentation and maybe append their signature. But my point is that those who do the work from the office down to the church wardens, to me, if anything untoward is found, I believe that people need to be shown the door. The door. Because if, for the fact that you are a church warden, you will not go against synod, you go against synod decisions. I believe that the best thing for you is to take off your gown. Because you are supposed, honorably, you are supposed to be supporting the diocese. Sometimes when you are in the parishes, I don't talk about all wardens, some of us think that it is we and them, and so the parish and the diocese. But I believe that the parish and the diocese are one, because parishes make up the diocese, and the diocese makes parishes. And so we work together as a team and as an entity. And therefore, when you see one of the players going wayward, then you are saying that you are not helping in the forward march of the bigger team. And so for me, if you are not playing your role well, the best thing is to put you aside and let's move on. Whoever you are, from whatever, from parish through archdeaconry to the diocese, if anybody is found not to be doing as expected, for me the person must be set aside. Because if our forward march is going to be successful, we need people of integrity. They are spoken about integrity, we need people of integrity, people who have the diocese at heart, people who want to see the diocese in the very near future somewhere that is better. And if we are seen not to be part of this march, then you cannot go with us.
Talking about not being part of this much, there is all the time a confusion in the minds of a lot of young people, persons like myself in the church, that we hear that there's a percentage that has to be paid to the diocese on what we call assessment. What is that driven percentage? How is it distributed, and what goes to its usage as far as assessment is concerned?
Assessment is just like taxation in our governance system. Anybody who works pays assessment. In our case, just like government, we depend on assessment to run the diocese. And these assessments come from the parishes. The parishes have been divided into categories. Category A, B, C, and there are some smaller churches that are assessed. So I can say category D for that matter. And these assessments have been distributed in a way that you do not pay more than you earn. It ranges from 45% downwards, depending on the size of the congregation and the financial muscle of that congregation. And the assessment are supposed to be taken from our regular incomes, like collection, like thank offering, like things like revivals and crusades. Whatever regular services we have, we are supposed to pay assessments on them. And the diocese has done it since the coming out of Bishop Toto. We have an arrangement with Fidelity Bank to the extent that all of our parishes and congregations have an account with Fidelity Bank, and these accounts are divided into two. There is the collection account, where all monies that we pay go into, and then once the money hits Fidelity, they take your percentage of assessment out and you turn the rest into your the operational or regular account of the parish to continue with your work. And so for me, if all parishes and congregations are going to go by these rules, we collect money that is meant to be assessed. You make sure it is paid into the actual account that has been prescribed for that, and then they take the assessment. Yours is given back to you, and you can. I know that for those who are paying 45%, it's a huge percentage. I know it is really, becoming a blow to a number of churches, especially during these times when things have become difficult for everybody. But then that must not be a reason why we have parishes trying to, play tricks with the laws or the rules. We only need to abide by, because this, regulation is a synod acta. And for me, a synod acta is a law.
It's binding.
And since we were all there when the acta was actually enacted, we must see ourselves, as, we must see it as binding, and therefore all of us must be seen to be adhering to the law. But you come to synod, you see it as a talk shop. Decisions are made. You go to the parish, and then you do something different. What are we doing? Do we come to synod just to impress?
Pardon me, but pardon my French, but I feel that if this is how we are going, then agents of the church that are to see to it that all these things and things that are put in place to keep the diocese running financially, act consequent to it, are doing the diocese a disservice.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. That when you are part of the lawmaking, you must not be seen to be going against the law you have been part of propagating. But you go against the laws, you go to the parish, and something else happens. Nobody can tell me that all the people at Synod are not members of parishes.
They are.
And so if they are, then it means that when they get back to the parish, they must help the diocese in implementing decisions that they with others have taken together.
In the event, I get there is a Synod Action Committee that are to see to it that the decisions taken by Synod are adhered to, among other things. So when assessment is not coming, who goes to cross-check? Is it the board of finance? Is it the auditor? Or it is a Synod Action Committee that would have to go to the parish to see to it that you are not adhering to the percentage you have to pay as an assessment?
Well, these committees will not know if monies are not coming. Because it is the Diocesan administration or the finance office that will know whether parishes are paying or not paying. To the best of my knowledge, parishes that do not pay sometimes are called to the office. That one I'm very sure. That when the office realizes that some parishes are playing tricks, they either invite the parish priest and the wardens together, or they invite them separately. For that one, I know it is happening. But I'm saying that must it even happen for the Diocesan office to invite anybody? You know, that's what I'm saying. That it must not happen, because we are a church, and if we are a church and we will not do the right things, naturally, we will not be helping our diocese. For me, every one of us must be seen to be supporting the diocesan agenda.
I'm grateful that you've made this client call that we need to support the diocesan agenda. Tell us last night, like we have made open a lot of things concerning this assessment. But let me ask, we heard during the lockdown days of COVID, up to its easing of restrictions gradually, as a board, did you come finally to a resolution that the diocese was financially being crippled as a result of the pandemic of COVID-19?
Well, COVID-19 was a pandemic. It was a worldwide problem. And so not only our diocese, but the entire world somehow was crippled. And like I've said, if the diocese depends on assessment to run, and for 3 long months plus there was no church service, which also means that the regular collections were not coming in. Naturally, assessment will be affected, and once assessment was affected, the diocese will be crippled. I'm sure you heard that at a point the diocese, attempted to find other means of funding
activities
or expenditure. And so that must tell you that we came to a point that our overdependence on assessment was felt, because that was all the money coming in, and you are on the accounting sheet, you have other incomes, but how much of other incomes come into our kitty? So generally is the assessment. And when there was no church service, the parishes themselves were crippled, because when you have staff to pay, and monies were not coming in. I know that in my own parish, at a point, somebody came from outside. A member, he came to ask me that, Father, may I know how much you pay for salaries in a particular month? And I told him, I called the clerk, and he told me, he said, for this month, that was in June, June last year, that he will pay half. So he brought in half, And that was how we were able to pay our staff. That tells you that something was wrong. And I believe that also happened to the diocese.
I'm feeling a bit indifferent towards the overdependence of assessment. I was going to ask, does it mean that from the parish level to that level, you don't have savings, you don't have investments that you can rely on in terms of such an emergency period?
Oh, parishes depended on their reserves. But I must tell you, even when you have investments, the level of difficulty that COVID-19 brought was such that some of the churches even had to empty their reserves. Because you had to support the elderly.
The relief items.
You know, and you know how much that will cost. For those who had over 100 or so people to look, I mean, you know, and all these had to come in. You need to pay utilities because you are housing clergy, you are housing other, office staff and things, and all these you have to pay because you are using them, and then you cannot say that because of COVID you were not. And one thing that people should know, that for churches, our utilities are always taxed as commercial. So what somebody in his domestic system will be paying, because I'm living in a mission house, the church pays more. So the amount of money that goes out into these things are such that very soon you see that even your reserves were being depleted.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll come back to you on projects that the diocese or the diocesan through this pillar intends to do. The retreat center having a restaurant, spa, among other things. We want to know what the status is so far as that is concerned. But let's come to you, Venerable Majolai, on socio-economic transformation. The diocesan through the policy had the vision of creating credit unions in the parishes and some welfare schemes for parishioners. How beneficial as the credit unions and welfare schemes been to parishioners so far?
Yeah, just as you know, the churches development the congregational development are differ. For instance, I know certain churches, parishes, they run even educational or scholarship scheme for brilliant but needy children, and they follow through in ensuring that these children perform as expected, and most of them end up being with the NUAS in the universities and other places. So this idea of forming the credit union came up. It was part. It is part of the diocesan vision, and we know of Saint Augustine, Dansoman, Saint Andrew Abosokai, Saint Francis. St. Michael and all angels, Coligono, and they have had years properly established. But may I use this forum to say that before the end of this year, the bishop's intention is to have the Adwa Credit Union, because the Accra East Adikinry have started an Adikinry approach to this, not parish to parish approach,
but an
archdeaconry approach. And I'm sure, but for the COVID, the Tema approach, because I left Tema before coming, the Tema one also would have gotten far. The Accra Northeast is championing this the Adwa Credit Union, where the intention is to bring everything under the same umbrella, but it will be in stages. And how in stages it will be, it's for the diocesan to, because that is his domain. But credit union is very, very a viable approach so far as the welfare of the individual or the parishioner is concerned, because you become a shareholder. So So whatever contribution you make, you benefit from dividends, right? So this idea has to do with the fact that as parishioners, we register to be shareholders. The various guilds in the church, or for instance, St. Barnabas or St. Peter's Medina, the various guilds also will register in their capacity as a guild. And we have adequately level councils of these guilds. They will do the same. And I'm sure the adequately also will also, because at the end of the day, interest dividends will be declared, and you make something out of it. And also parishioners or congregations who are in need can approach the union for financial assistance at a very minimal interest rates. So all these are social interventions. That's why it's not under financial sustainability, but social impact. Okay, so now the message is to sell it out. For instance, the clergy, as much as possible, who have adult children who are working, must be on board. Parishioners must be on board with their adult children. That is on a individual basis. Then the identifiable groups can also, so at the end of the day, you set yourself, okay, every month I'm paying so much as your dues or interest or your contribution, which at the end of the year, the Ghana Credit Union Association, they will come and audit. In fact, before you can start, they will come and inspect your office facilities. So this credit union is still under the bigger Ghana Credit Union. You know, their office is at near the TUC there, at TUC building. So it's something official, and other churches are into it. Other sister churches are into it, and they are benefiting. Other Anglican dioceses are into it, by the benefit of the fact that as a military chaplain I was moving from one place to place. I do testify of the benefits this credit union has yielded to other dioceses that I've worked in. And I thought it's high time the Diocese of Accra also benefited from this. You know, it's a matter of maybe throwing not immediate needed money somewhere, which would be yielding interest. Then in the future, you go for it. Any mishap will come where you need an emergency money, and you can go there. The interest rate is not like the open market. So, dear Anglicans, let's go into it.
I'm grateful you hinted on scholarship schemes too, that as a result being done at some parishes level or parish levels. I can speak for my parish, where the EYP is fronting it, that instead of burdening the church, the EYP has created an educational fund where we have students, we call it needy, brilliant but needy, but it's open to all, that if you need financial assistance to catapult you to go to second cycle, third cycle institutions, we can do that. Do we have an ADWA approach when it comes to educational support or scholarship? Because to the best of my knowledge, it is scattered parishional based support that we are doing. As a social impact, are we looking at having a motherboard educational policy for young people? Because these are the people that we are trying to nurture in various means. So whilst we are looking at broadening their spiritual sense and ability to stay in the church, there's a need to also impact them educationally. What are we doing?
Yeah, every parishioner belongs to a parish or a congregation. Okay, and the ADWA, Anglican Diocese of Accra, approach is to ensure that these scholarship scheme or yes, support schemes are properly run. Because at the end of the day, they are the end benefits. So to have one for the on the Diocesan level, the question is, so who are the special people to benefit directly? But as we are benefiting in the parishes level or the congregations, it is the church. There was a time when the Anglican Education Unit or the education committee of the diocese realized that a lot of our teachers weren't Anglicans. You know, we have other denominational teachers teaching in our schools, and I always cite myself an example when I was at a teacher training college, and at the end of the day, I didn't have the benefit of being posted to an Anglican school. Right, so we made some small noise at Synod, and they offered scholarship. The diocese offered scholarship to Anglicans who are entering to teacher training colleges. So after their training, we were able to lobby the education service to ensure that they were posted to Anglican schools. That's the level which I can say is gotten to in the on the Diocesan level, but more can be done. More can be done.
I like the fact that more can be done, and then it's good that we're able to identify where the gap is.
Yeah,
that we've taken education, for instance, and that both of the youth will be looking forward. That the pillar what to do is that we empower people to the services. That we need more Anglicans to join the service, join the military, join the police service, join any other thing as means of also in the future trying to create an area of Anglicans who are uniformed people. And since you are a military, I'm sure that probably you can pull that strings for us. But that is just by the way, anyways. What are we doing when it comes to entrepreneurship? How are we empowering our people with the spirit of entrepreneurship? Are we engaging them? That when we are looking at, because it's not all formal employment we can help our parishioners with, but when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's broader. What can we do? What are we doing for our people?
Once again, I know that the AYP, in their various fora, they do some empowerment talks and how to guide in career development and other things. And I'm aware that our Mother Superior Gladys runs a program in this Bishop's Court for our women who would want to do beads making, those handiworks. I mean, soap making, and when during the time of COVID, they brought in personnel to teach the making of sanitizers and other things. They are all part of empowerment. Okay, maybe we have to spread the frontiers. We have to spread the frontiers, and then maybe go into other artisan and formal educational issues. I think there's more room to expand.
Beyond the formal and educational issues, when I even put it into a bit of formal, where it becomes a bit of specializing, we have tech education, tech entrepreneurs, people that will come up with innovative ideas, that may be automobile among other things. Do we think that in the future the diocese can also think of pushing people into these areas and pushing them towards entrepreneurship?
Of course, this Diocesan month celebration is bringing more awareness, and like I said, more room for improvement. So as we should put up some structures to get these things formalized, so that at the end of the day, nobody feel peeved or something. And it's very difficult. We know the challenge of unemployment, and the church has its part in playing. For instance, these credit union officers, we need parishioners to man them, and they'll be part of the staff, and then it will be an avenue of income generation for the individual. So I'm sure when structures are put in place, these things will be properly structured for the benefit of all.
Thank you. I'll come back to you on Adwa for the aged. It's a nice policy that I think that was, I don't know whether I'm a bit exposed to the Canadian part of the communion where the aged is given a lot of concern, where they see that they have to find ways and means to bridge the gap between the church and then the aged or people on retirement. I want to know how far it is going, because we used to have a vehicle that is branded Adwa for the aged. I don't know where that vehicle is, among other things, but we'll come back and then we'll talk about that. I don't know why when Adi is smiling. My next one for you is on the retreat center. Ashalibuchi is there. We have a nice hostel facility there. We have how do you call it? The place they pray. How do you call it? Gluto. The Gluto is there, and other things. We've heard that there's a transformation that is going to go on there, where we are going to build a conference hall facility. We are going to have a gymnasium. We have a spa, among other things, and then an outdoor event. How far have we completed? Have we started making revenue out of it already?
Thank you very much. The Lord Bishop took us on a tour of the facility when we had our last retreat at Ashalibuchi. And I can say that the structure is well done, and it is almost completed. And like you know, it is externally funded. But you know, we were just talking about COVID and its results, and so the work is ongoing, and I believe that in the very near future we shall see its completion. Having a conference facility, restaurant, spa, and the rest are areas of that facility that are actually going to bring in a lot of funds to Adwa. And I here want to first and foremost commend the bishop for that initiative, and pray that all those who are part of working on this should spare up whatever they're doing to ensure that the work comes to completion. But I must say that so far it has not been completed, but I believe that once that is done, we have a lot to gain out of the facility.
We have a lot to give. I just look forward to it that is completed, and then it becomes a nice. I'm interested in going to the gym, and I think I recommend it for most of our priests to go and burn a bit of fat there. But the other thing too that is very enviable when I look at what the plans are for having a financial sustainable diocese is the construction of the Bishop Towers. Enviable project, where we are looking at renting out spaces for either corporate or other things, or we double it with the SU building that is also there. Are plans still in place to have this now materialize?
Well, there hasn't been any indication that the plan has been abandoned. So I would say that the plan should still be in the pipeline. Like you said, it's quite an enviable project if we are able to embark on it. Looking at the situation where it is going to be placed on the high street, the location, on the high street, just by Bishop Girls School. For those who care to know, it is just the space that used to be the Trotro station, and that is where we intend to put up this 11-story building, and the diocese will only get the floor to run our diocesan activities. The rest of the floors are supposed to be rented out, and we are for now been waiting for that strategic investor who would come and pump in so much for us. I mean,
Others, have you opened up your net yet?
Yes, I mean, initially we have had people from, I think, South Africa and others.
I think you mentioned the Equia effort.
Yes, you know, our director of programs had also not started aloof. She's been bringing people, but
999.
you know, so we haven't gotten the investor who is ready. I believe that the time for the leaseholder has, been short, and nobody will want to sink his money into a project that will take some time, but the time for the lease will be short. And I believe that is what I think we should do as a diocese, is to renegotiate the leasehold. So once it is extended, I believe that we'll have business people to come in, help us build, run, and then when they've gotten their money, eventually it will become a diocesan property. And so it's a long-term program that we intend to embark on. And I believe that if all of us, especially those of us Anglicans who know, who are business inclined and can get business, because I know that the Anglicans who go out there to negotiate projects, for projects and other things. I don't see why they cannot do same for us. People are very independent, so, and they're doing it perfectly. Yeah, so if they are hearing us and they are watching us, we expect them to come to our Macedonia. This is their home. Let them come together, support the diocesan approach, and ensure that we all do what will be beneficial to the entire diocese and also to Ghana, our motherland.
Talking about commercial ventures, I think that on the 29th of January, one of the biggest eye-opener that we can boast about also happened. And then it seems that our folks abroad and then home are saying that the project is very admirable. That is the Adwa Rubber Plantation, which the Vice President, His Excellency Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, was at the Asini Suta with the Lord Bishop and Nana Ohemi to cut sword officially for the Adwa Rubber Plantation under the Adwa Rubber Estates Limited. How is the project going to sustain the diocese financially? Because it seems some are not really too much in tune with the benefit. We are going to plant rubber. Okay, we are planting the rubber, but how is the Diocese of Accra benefiting from such a huge project?
Reginald, I must say that I believe that this project, the Adwa Rubber Plantation, if well managed, will be the game changer for Accra Diocese. But first, I want to pay tribute to the late Paul Ankra, whose baby this program is. He did all the initial planning before his demise, and I think we owe him and his family a lot of gratitude for not being so selfish, but selling this program out to the Lord Bishop and ensuring, even before his death, that we got to where we are. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Amen. And rest in glory.
Amen.
Like I said, Accra Diocese had gone through stages. We had all been here when Accra Diocese decided, or Anglican Church decided they were going to put up Diocesan Complex. During the time of Bishop Lemaire. It never materialized. We were here, we had Anglican Printing Press being manned by Anglicans, our own. It never materialized. We have had dreams or ideas for projects like ICE making what do you call it, project at Jamestown. We have been talking about rural banking, and we have members who belong to the banking fraternity, and and all these things never came to fruition. During the time of Archdeacon Ajayi, we had the cassava farm, and we could not get even one olonka. We're talking about olonka of gari, to the benefit of Accra Diocese. So for me, I think the Adwa rubber plantation must be the game changer. But I still believe that then the managers will have to take all these into consideration and ensure that this time we are not going to fail. Because many a time we are failed by our own. The moment people begin to be individualistic, then the trend changes. But I want us to always look first and foremost to the diocese. The diocese for this venture must be a kingdom. So we must look for the kingdom, and then all others will be added unto us. So my prayer is that the managers now, looking at history, must be guided by those things that we did not do right, and ensure that we put everything properly in place, so that we do not go into it and come empty-handed. Thank God that ADB is partnering us. ADB is an agricultural bank. They know the benefits of rubber, and for those of you who know that Ghana Rubber Factory used to be somewhere there in Super area, it is now defunct. But I believe that when we are able to plan this venture properly, we should be able to help in reviving this company and other rubber companies that are in the system. We have these companies that are making plastics and things, and so for those who do not know the benefits of rubber, they are numerous, and we cannot, it will last even longer than some of the other things that we know. And so our prayer must be that this venture succeeds, and succeeds well. Because if it succeeds well, it will be to the benefit of posterity. Because the Anglican Church will then not be, like we have said already, be over-dependent on assessment. It will come as a relief for the parishes, because the diocese will now have something stronger and firm to lean on, and therefore they will not be falling so much on the parishes. So let it be that all of us come on board. I must also say that because the farm is located far away from Accra, communication and information about it must not be scanty. It must flow. For all of us to know what is happening and where we are. Amir had always said that whenever there is no transparency, there is doubt and suspicion. And so for me, for us, and for nobody to sit somewhere and accuse us, let us make things open. Information must flow. Anybody who wants to know something about it, when he comes to the diocese or sees any of the personnel working on the farm, they should be able to get the information they need, especially for those who have been in the diocese long enough to know what had happened before. They are those who will be asking some of these questions. And so we must have them at the back of our minds, and then be open, and if anybody wants to chip in some advice, we take them on board and maybe see them and see which of them will be beneficial to the forward march or forward going of the diocese. But all said and then, I believe that Adwa Rubber Plantation is a very good venture, and we must move forward and not look back. It must be that we want it to succeed. And I'm glad that the government has shown some interest. And I would say that it must not just be the present government, but it must be subsequent governments, so that we see ourselves partnering with government and being really proper co-partners with ADB. So we are not wanting anywhere along the line, but all goes well for us to achieve the purpose for which the plantation has been set up.
May I chip in?
Coming.
You know, in this our day and age, plastic is everything. You know, if you are going to buy your Hausa cocoa, it's in plastic bag. If you are going to, I mean, at parties, the cups are plastic. And I've during my school days, I've worked at Bonsa, the Ghana Rubber Estates, the factory, and then the plantation at Abura. And I'm glad it's not cocoa, it is not cassava, it's not corn. If ever you get in the midst of rubber, you never wish to go there again because of the stench. The stench.
Yeah.
So it will ward off people who would want to make personal interest. But at the end of the day, when it's properly managed, the benefit has a long term and to be enormous. So it's a good step.
I'm so delighted by the responses you two have given on the plantation. Let me finally wrap up with you on the Adwa for the aged. Where are we with the aged?
Well, we see the opportunity of 1st July being the Senior Citizen Day, and I remember when I was at St. Barnabas, on that day I gathered all the infirmed, and they came to church. We did the family mass. After that, we brought in medical personnel to attend to them, and then we entertained them. I would have wished it to be very regular, and the practice gains Diocesan level approach. And I'm sure it is because of this the challenges that the lockdown of
I think that the change of the holidays too. Yes, July is no more a holiday.
Yes, but well, this COVID thing, COVID also lessened our socialization and other things. But if we are if we have the first Sunday after Christmas as Children's Day, which I don't see us pursuing it, and we have the second Sunday in May as Women's Day, and the third Sunday in June as Men's Day, we should have that for the aged. Not just to call them together to entertain them, but they should serve also as a think tank. Certain issues could be referred to them, then they could use their experiences in their various professional endeavor to proffer some suggestions, you know. And one thing about this COVID thing and the role of our medical team, I think we can't discuss this COVID without mentioning Dr. Niaye, you know, in his adequacy. He and his team, Auntie Aku, Auntie Joelina, and
was a Sego.
Yes, a lot of people. I mean, they came up with instructions to guide us, and we are alive because we follow those instructions. I have a few relations and friends who pass on because a lot of sister churches to go. Anglicans, most of us are so interested in Nyamianwa. You go to a place, there is no organist, you will not go there again. You travel from wherever he is and come to where he was before. Meanwhile, because of the expansion of our settlements, people have moved, and some of us are interpreting into the fact that our membership is dwindling. But some 10 years ago there was no Katapo, there was no Uyibi. But now when you go there, you see, So that's why I quoted the introduction of the that it involves all of us. We should be part of this thing to ensure that the Diocesan agenda moves on. It's not only for the clergy, it's not only for the lay, but for the church. And I doubt how many of us have copies of our customized Bible. But for Diocesan month quizzes, we hadn't referred to the customized Bible. But it's a very unique thing, first in Ghana, if not Africa, for a whole diocese to have this customized Bible where we have our history, the history we discuss. Most of them are there.
Yeah.
This vision statement is there. If I should call the parishioners, what are the 5 pillars? They'll be scratching their head. Let alone how they understand these 5 pillars and how they can see to their implementation. We should own it. We should own it. We would want to lament on certain things about the church, but it is we have to take the move. I mean, it's all under social impact.
Yeah.
Having the impact in the public mind is very, very important. So that those who don't know will know. You know, Dr. Lamte talked about our worship. It's so unique. The Book of Common Prayer is so unique. I was telling Venerable Sami that for the whole Pope John Paul to say that we should use the 666 the rights for his burial service, Ghana or Anglican Church, Yawadipa. When you see these charismatic churches, when they want to maybe ordain their clergymen, they pass through it. I was at Takrady some time ago, I saw it. And other places I don't want to mention, they will pass through the rites of deacon making, priest making, and then bishop making, and then they'll give you a sword. Sword for what?
They went for what? Alright, fighting the devil. That's fighting the demons and devils, yes. Thank you, Venerable Major Eli, retired, for the wonderful time. Thanks to you, Venerable Lansinade, too. I think that we've exhausted all our questions, and let me be very grateful to you for your time, too, and the expositions you've given and explanations you've given to on the 5 pillars. I believe that any parishioner that is watching today should be able at any point in time know where we are with the 5 pillars and then what the steps are. A year by now, I'm sure that we'll be able to have adapts to what we've said today, and then if some of the projects too are to be completed, we'll find time to talk about the malaria prevention, child trafficking, as well as the campaign against substandard drugs, among other things, probably in the future. But this is where time will permit us to have the conversation. I'm very grateful to you. Like I indicated earlier, this is day 2 of the Diocesan Week Celebration 2022, and then yesterday we saw the launching of the Diocesan Week Celebration all over the parishes, all services. Today we've gotten to know what the diocese is. We've got to know the diocesan vision. That is, if we build, they will come, under 5 pillars, which is equipping and empowering our church agents and clergy to deliver excellence. We also look at deepening spirituality. We look at growth based on integrity and discipline. We've looked at financial sustainability and then social impact. We want to end the interview with this quote from the book. It says that if the manager is to make effective use of staff, it is important to have them working in groups and teams. It is necessary to recognize the nature of human relationship and the functions, rules, factors that influence team performance and effectiveness, quote and unquote. It's high time we rally together as clergy, as laity, and see to it that the common goal is that we are building a diocese, and that diocese is the Anglican Diocese of Accra. That posterity would come and benefit from the growth that we've brought it to be. It shouldn't be under whose era it is, as probably maybe archdeacon or as parish priest, or maybe as a priest in charge, or maybe as diocesan bishop. But at the end of the day, our greatest commission is that we should keep on having more flocks into the foyer of God. The name is Pepsiva. Thanks for joining us. We'll be coming back same way on Wednesday at 9 a.m. with Dr. Ayer and then Professor Sego on where we are as a church on COVID-19. People think that COVID-19 is over. It is not over yet. There's still COVID. But where are we as a church so far as COVID-19 is concerned? And I'm grateful that Venerable Ayer made mention of the efforts the medical team put in so far as the COVID-19 and its measures is concerned. The labeling and rebranding. Dr. Ayer was at the chapel to halt one of the services because the place was not fully fumigated. So we had to cancel the recording, fumigate the place, and see to it that there is proper social distancing before we went in. This is the level at which people attach seriousness to what was happening there. So thanks for joining us. And then on Saturday, yes, on Saturday at 6 p.m., you also be having the event song service from St. Albon Anglican Church inside Tema with the Venerable Samuel Lansina, the celebrant, where he'll be giving exposition to on the theme financial sustainability for the week. And on Thursday, Clash of the Titans, which Ajikini is going to win this time around? Is it going to be the standing champions? That is Accra West. We are the standing champions as it stands as the Diocesan quiz competition is concerned. Let's see if Ajikini has prepped his people from Tema, or maybe Venerable has prepped his people from Accra North East. Likewise, Accra North, Accra East, and then to come and battle us. But as I do a cathedral there, I don't say anything because of the Sovereign Bishop. I don't say anything. But let's see who comes to become the champion on Thursday and be awarded giants so far as the Diocesan Week celebration and the quiz competition is concerned. But like I said, I'm Accra West biased, so I'm going to do Accra West home support. It's going to take place at St. Augustine, and I'm grateful that it's going to be at St. Augustine too. So we are going to host and win. We are going to host it in Accra West, and then we are going to defeat them too. So whilst your people are coming all the way from Tema, you should get ready to come and face the rigors of Accra West. What are you saying to it?
Well, I won't say anything for now. And I will just want the planners to give us the books for the quiz at the beginning of every year.
Okay.
So that we will not just pick, but we will have competitions in the parishes.
Okay.
And then select those who have actually, qualified from the deaconries.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Do you have to say a similar thing too?
Yeah, I think so, because a month or two is not enough to prepare. I mean, to involve the youth, looked as if that's where we showcase them. So if it is parish competition, goes to district competition, then go to adequate competition, then the champions or the winners will represent the deaconry at the Diocesan level.
So it will be champion of champions.
For me, Venables, I don't buy this idea. I like the idea of the 2 months now because at our West we are used to it. We are sharp brains who can defeat people.
We'll live to see.
All right. So I need to say, see you on Wednesday and see you on Thursday and see you on Saturday too as well. The name is Pepsival, and a big thank you goes to the production team and technical crew of Adult Television for seeing to it that this one comes. A very big thank you goes to the programs department too of the diocese. I've seen DK, I've seen King flank around the quarters. I've seen Reverend Ikea all over here. Big ups to you, Rev. I believe our lunch is ready. See you when I see you on Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of our programs.
Thank you.